Hello, family, friends, and fellow sojourners. I wanted to tell you a story that happened to me probably close to 30 plus years ago. Um, the Lord spoke to me and said, "My people perish because of apathy." And I really pondered and thought, what does that mean? His people? Does that mean people that are Christians? Does that mean all his creation? Um, and I think it was revealed to me soon after while we were at a restaurant just down the street from our home. And it was just my husband and myself. We just got back from church and having lunch. And my first observation was that there was a huge table of 6 people, obviously husbands and wives. So 3 pairs that were talking loudly and kind of laughing and very joyous. And I noticed on their lapel they had a sticker that said, "I love my church." And I recognized one of the people as being the pastor of a church that was just up the hill from our home. And I thought, wow, isn't that wonderful that they're professing their Christianity by wearing that sticker. And also, I noticed that there were 2 lovely older black women that were very beautifully dressed, very classy, and they too were dining. And I noticed that one of this one woman that was quite a bit older, I think she was in her late 70s, early 80s, acted a little confused, and she stood up and she fell back, and she was lying on the restaurant floor. And I told my husband, I said, "Honey, there's something wrong with that lady." And he jumped into action, and I began praying. And when I finished my prayer, I looked up and I noticed that the tabletop of 6 people hadn't budged an inch. They never stopped. They never looked around. They never started to pray. They never gathered hands in prayer. And they just continued on about their regular day, like nothing different was happening. And I remember feeling quite upset about that. I thought, he's the pastor of a church. And if they're wearing that little sticker on their clothing and professing their Christianity, why wouldn't they stop in someone's time of need and begin to pray for that person? So my husband asked the woman that was dining with her, what is her name? And she said her name is Annie. So this is my Annie on the floor story. The restaurant manager came running up and said, "What can I do?" And he said, "You can call 911. And it was only an hour and about a block and a half from the fire station where my husband had worked at one time. And they were there very quickly, and they took over the situation. And my husband came back and said, "She's had a seizure." And I just was thinking, oh, poor thing. I hope she didn't hurt herself when she fell back on the floor. So they gathered her up and they sent her off to the hospital by way of ambulance. And I didn't think much about it other than I was pretty upset about what I had observed, because other people in that restaurant, if they noticed that they were saying they loved their church, what kind of impression would they have when they noticed that these people didn't stop and do anything to assist or to pray for or whatever? So days later, I was sitting in the kitchen, and the Lord spoke to me and he said, "I want you to go to that church and I want you to ask that pastor this one thing." He said, "I want you to ask him, whose church do you love?" And I was overwhelmed. I thought, how in the world am I going to go to the pastor of a large church and say that to him? I didn't think that I had the right to say something like that. That's when I didn't understand the importance of when the Lord commands you to do something, you do it. So I thought about it many times, even talked to some of my prayer partners, and several of them said, "You must do that if the Lord has commanded you to do it." But I didn't. Well, about, I don't know, a year or 2 years later, this same pastor got into some big trouble, wound up losing his church. Apparently he had baptized some children that were at a Bible camp. He had baptized them without the parents' permission, and there were lawsuits, and he lost his church. and had to sell his home, and he moved away, and I never knew what happened to him. But to this day, I wonder if I had obeyed the Lord at that time, if it might have made a difference in his life. Then question, you know, am I a servant of the Lord's? Do I believe what I say? Do I pray without ceasing, like Paul said? Whose church do I love? Well, as he did not do what he should have done, I too did not do what I was told to do. So there's no judgment there. I'm just as frail, just as human as anybody else. But I want to caution you. If the Lord tells you to do something, commit it to prayer and know that he is going to be your mouthpiece. You don't need to worry about what you're going to say. He will be your mouthpiece. Don't be robbed of a blessing. I hope you will think about what these words mean and take them to heart. God bless you. Bye-bye.